Hey, peace family, it's Jay Morrison coming to you live from the Black House here in Atlanta, Georgia, the Legacy Center, owned by Tulsa Real Estate Fund, and I'm bringing you Money Church Monday live. My partner, my co-host, and one of my spiritual mentors, Brian C. Dean, can't be with us this week. He's actually going through homegoing services for First Lady Queen Andrea's, his mother-in-law, passed this past week. After surviving for months and months, even years past when the doctor said she had a certain amount of time to live, by God's grace, she lived much, much longer. And we want to wish their family much love, blessings, prayers, and all that. So it's on me tonight. And so I'm high energy because I feel the richest I ever been. I feel so good. And I want to inject this to you. But you know me, as I get new game, I always want to get back that game. From the streets to the suites, from the corners to the corner office, it don't matter. I've just learned so much, and I feel like God has, so boom, during my journey, I learned how to survive poverty the first 15, 16 years of my life. From 0 to 16, I literally learned how to boil the water on the stove to heat the house. I learned how to bring the blankets in the car when the car ain't got no heat at all. I've learned how to, mix some little cornflakes and water and make it something. I've learned, French toast specialty with the toast, the bread, and the syrup. I've literally learned how to survive with a high level of dignity still and ambition. I didn't quit on life, even though my life was hard from 0 to 16, 17. Then, by God's grace, I learned some other skills in the streets from 15 to 25. I learned how to survive Newark, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, Lincoln, Nebraska, inner cities, corners, Bloods, Crips, prison, jail, probation, house monitoring, work release, ankle bracelets. I learned how to survive a whole nother sector of life that many people never survive and never make anything out of their lives when they go down that road, right? So I was able to survive 3 felonies, and I was able to survive almost 2 decades of poverty. Then I was able to survive my own ignorance in my mid-20s. My own arrogance, my own ignorance, my own selfishness, my own low frequency. I actually got rid of some demons that were in me from hurt and trauma that I had. I was an abused, trauma, hurt black man in my mid to late 20s. And I survived that. Went through depression, divorce, all these kind of things. So like God took me. So if I had a flip chart right now, I'd be writing a circle and there'll be quarters in the circle. Like I feel like God broke my life into like this pie chart. And this pie chart, so I got these different life experiences, and then I learned corporate America, working for Sotheby's, working with NBC, working with Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, Century 21, and I learned this whole corporate level of etiquette, of professionalism, of corporate professional courtesy. There's just certain elements of I think etiquette is probably one of the stronger words, and branding and marketing and infrastructure, right? So I was able to mix some streets with some poverty, ambition, and resilience, with some corporate, with some own personal self-development. And then in 2015, I got socially conscious and politically conscious, and I learned about my responsibility to my community and to God's people in regards to helping to advocate for our unity, our justice, our repair, our nationality, our independence, our liberation, our reparation, our reconciliation, our redress, right? For our community, those who are least amongst us Africans in America. And so I had that part of my life, and then also took my business career to a different level. But then there was this element that was still missing, this gap that I had that prevented me from having a full capital stack, from having the best net worth, if you will. And that was like my spiritual life, not religious life. I'm not with the religion. I understand that religion is just kind of tradition and rituals made around relationship. So like we all should have some kind of relationship with the Most High, with the Father, with Jah, Yah, Allah, God, the Lord God of Israel, the I am that I am, Jehovah, Jireh, right? We should all have some relationship with the Father. Outside of religion, a real relationship where we're able to be in frequency, love God with all our heart, find a way to repair and love ourselves and then love our neighbors like ourselves, right? And follow these commandments and just kind of raise in frequency. So in this last sliver of my life, what I want to give you all on how to become the richest you ever been. You have to understand, coming out of $0 in my pocket, I seen my first $1,000 at 16 and I was souped up. I'm like, yo, I'm lit. Then I saw 2 racks. And by 17, I seen 10 racks. And coming from where we come from, to have $10,000 cash, all in 100 knots. I had all 100 knots, and every 100 knot I put into a G stack, and then another G stack, another G stack. And then by the end of my senior year of alternative program in high school, I ended up seeing over $100,000, probably about $30,000, $40,000 saved. And then, and through my mid-20s, saw my first 6 figures in real estate by 2006. Actual cash money, legit money. I remember I saw my first 6 figures I ever saw was in Commerce Bank. They printed it out for me on Union Avenue in Union, New Jersey. And I had $112,000 in the bank. Now, I know in today's world, we also lit, and there's so many pandemic millionaires and Instagram influencers, and everybody got a hack and a play, and $100,000 is just normal. But in 2006, they've come off the trap. And to have legit, legally, I can go touch it, the cops can't get it, it's not under my mattress, to have 100 away, tucked, like that's mine, was absolutely mind-blowing, coming from free lunch stamps in school and literally in welfare lines and WIC lines with my mom, and like paying for food at the A&P and the Pathmark with like the brown money singles food stamps. So I thought I was lit, and then became a millionaire, so my first million, by 28, by 27 years old. So anyway, sad to say, and then go on to see other successes. So my point is this: fiat currency, money, richness, wealth, I've seen, right, to multiple 7-figure years, like multiple times, right, through my life. And what I realized is, until you holistically, like, I know a lot of rich people, a lot of wealthy people, we would call rich, wealthy, but they just aren't happy inside. They're just not confident. It's something missing. And I've been one of those people where something was just missing. And a lot of times you don't have wealth, you're like, shit, I'll take that. And you feel like that, but listen, there is a piece of wealth, a piece of asset, a masterpiece, we call it, that I found, a flow that I found, that each of us could found, that literally allows you to be happy, to have peace, no matter the circumstance. If your happiness is based on your bank account or circumstantial, you're literally poor, because you're a slave to that circumstance. You're a slave to your business. So you're only happy when your business is successful. You're only happy when your marriage is successful. You're only happy when you got the latest, newest model car. You're only happy when you got the newest, latest fit. I've learned in this last year or so of my life, I've learned this way to be like, have power, have control, be happy, be rich, despite everything. Like, it really, like, it literally, I watch people now, I'm coaching people, like, I'm watching this way to you to have such a strong relationship with God, knowing who you are. And this is why I have such passionate videos about our identity. And we are all God's children, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what walk of life. But God's word, the Bible speaks, the Torah speaks so heavily about the last being first, and about serving those least amongst us, about there is something special about the challenged, right? Because that's where you see God's grace. That's where you see God's excellence, right? Is in the least, is in the unlikely. There is something very special about the unlikely. And what I've seen is, and what I've experienced and what I've unpacked just from my spiritual journey. So that's what it's about, my spiritual journey. It's about Money Church. You could get so many gems on how to get money, but there's very few that put you in a position where you can hear God's word and go get money off his word. Where you could hear an unction, hear something in your conscience or on your spirit, move on that thing without the cosign of anyone else. God tell me, move to Atlanta. In a month, I moved from New Jersey to Atlanta in 1 month because I knew that thing was real. And look what I've done since the time I've been in Atlanta in 2016. God tells you to move on this, move on that. So there's like, when you know you're in a special relationship and when you start knowing who you are, when you understand that God made us in his image, and the people in the Bible that we talk about, he was writing about my forefathers and my foremothers who looked like me, and seeing their stories and their journeys as the first kings and queens on the planet, and seeing the relationship that they held with the Father, and seeing how grace works. So here's a story, right, of what I mean. And I know I'm working my way into this because it's a lot on my spirit. There's a king that I mentioned a few months ago. His family had several of his children, I believe, had autism. Like 3 or 4 of his children had autism. And so he reached out to me on an Instagram DM or like a random email and was like, hey, I could use your help or whatever the case is. And so I offered some help. I marketed it, promoted it, say, hey, if anybody can help, you could donate money here. Or if you know anything about autism, call this number. And like, it was on my spirit to do something. And honestly, I didn't do all that I could do. I had a lot going on, but I followed my spirit. My spirit said do something, so I did something. On this random man that emailed me, how he got my email, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I still just followed my spirit. I didn't egg him. I didn't be like, oh, well, go through my assistant's assistant and all of that. When something in my spirit, I move on the word. Like, the wealth is, the success is in obedience. I promise you that. That's why I gave you my whole background of getting money. What I'm trying to say is like, you're looking at one of the real get money guys. Like, always been getting money. And gonna always continue to get money. But what I've found out is that the real wealth, the real money, the real currency is in obedience. It's not in your new Range Rover. It's not in your diamond chain. It's not in how many girls you can have. It's not in your blue check, your clout, your verification, your 6 figures a day, a month, a week, or whatever. That's not the real wealth. Because all that can be taken away, and then what do you have? So what happens if you have all that money, but then the police wrongly pull over your brother, who you love dearly, and they shoot your brother up and he dies? What about your sanity? What about when your daughter is born and then your daughter has health issues? What about if you and your wife are going through? These are all things I went through, except for the shooting of a brother. But I'm saying, like, I've gone through strong life controversy and learned that the amount of money I have doesn't ease my pain in real life be lifing. Like, everything can go away. Like, wars can really break out. Like, all the wealth can happen. The markets can really crash. Like, you could lose what you got. I've lost what I got multiple times over. I know this. I've been up. Like, the man in my hood, the man in my block, the man in my corporate office, the man in the culture. I've been up and I've been down. How the African philosopher Jay-Z said, I done saved and blown bread. So my point is, then where does your real happiness come from? Otherwise, you get a different level of happiness, of peace, and success just from obedience at the smallest level. So here's my story. So the king that I helped a little bit when his family was in dire need because they had a house they were getting kicked out of or weren't renewing a lease, and he had to find a house that was autistic friendly for his family. I didn't do enough. I admit, for as much as I wanted to do, I didn't do enough. And for him, apparently, I didn't do enough, although I did more than most people would do, right? Because I did something, and I ain't know him. I have no investment into him other than just my human heart compassion, right? He emailed me this morning after 3 months. He told me off, too, a few months ago. Like, I thought you was going to do better, right? He went in with me. I didn't say nothing back. I might have said something like, whatever. But he hit me today and he emailed me. I read it. I was like, oh, where are you going again? Here I go. And he was like, yo, man to man, I apologize. He said, I was going through a lot of stress at that time, and you did do more than most people ever would do, and I appreciate it, et cetera, et cetera. And I got a word from God right in that moment, and I emailed him back. I was like, no problem, King. Like, I love to give my brother grace. And what God showed me in that moment is I learned a new skill on how to deal with people and people's trauma, people's mess, people's anger. Like, people will try to project their pain, their trauma, their frustration, their fears. They'll try to project that on you. And as a leader, as a man of God, I'm okay with taking that on because God's now showed me how to take on other people's traumas without it affecting my peace. And being godly enough, godlike enough, made in my Father's image, where I can offer my brother grace and understand his pain. I can look past his pain and look past his anger, and I can see his needs. That man was hurting as a man, as a provider for his family who couldn't provide. So he took that out on me, and I could have felt egotistical about it or sensitive about it and went back on him and all that, but that ain't what he needed right then. And months later, because it takes time sometimes. See, we don't want to wait the time for God to be God. So you learn time in this process of becoming the richest you ever been. And in time, you watch mountains move. See, God said with faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. He didn't say when, though. He didn't say how soon, how quick. So I saw that happen, right? Then, transparently, my wife and I were going through something like literally the last couple of years. Because of all the tension in our relationship through her pregnancy and through her childbirth and through our companies and our reputations and being slandered and being defamed and her being called names and all these different things, it created a real big tension within our home. And oftentimes I understood it and I was somewhat empathetic enough to it, but I still had my own, I wasn't mature enough, I wasn't grown enough spiritually to really be able to deal with it. So I was dealing with it from a perspective of not low level frequency, but mid-level frequency, still not high, still not rich. And where I've grown so much, and she and I have been able to build and kind of reconcile some of our issues, if you will, is I was able to see that it's like this. Here's a mad game for y'all. Check it out. Here's what I learned. Here's what God showed me is the last few months, really. Is that if you have a problem with you and somebody, you have to be spiritually mature enough to make sure the you in that situation is at the ultimate version of you. When most times we don't want to be that level of self-accountable, when we can see their flaws and we want to be even, or we want to talk about them and what they can do. But what I learned is you operate from a different level of dominion, kingship and queenship, a different level of power, when I can look at the situation and I can honestly say, yo, Jay, you're not being your best in this situation. You're being too reactive. You're being too emotional. You're being too sensitive. You're not being compassionate enough. You're not looking past somebody else's faults and really saying, what's really forget what they're saying, what's really the problem? What's the root of this? What's the heart of this? And how can, from a human level, compassionate level, how can I be godly enough? How can I be a MOG, a man of God enough? How can I be the priest of the household enough? How can I be a big spirit, a big energy enough to where I can try to figure out how to ease this person, ease this situation, or give them a right example of what a God energy looks like in that situation. So I'm able to take every situation that happens and look at it at the high. Like, you can be pessimistic, optimistic. I'm able to look at things from the most highest level frequency situation in most situations. And then I'm able to hear from God, hear a word, and then move on a word. What's my point, as Mr. D would say? My point is, when you truly want to be like the richest you ever been, there's a cheat code to operating at such a high frequency that you can get downloads and clarity of perspective, clarity of movement, clarity of decision making, to where even your wrongs can be right. because there's grace even in your wrongs. So many times, if you try to live to a standard of perfection or a standard of pleasing everyone else and other people, you'll always be disappointed. Because now you're trying to live up to your followers' expectation or to your staff's expectation or to your marital expectations or whatever the case is. Your only real obligation and expectation is to move in obedience at the level and for the calling in which God gave you. That's like the most fundamental assignment. Everything else falls in place. And so when you know where you stand with God and you know where you stand in your calling, you know where you stand in your purpose, all the other things become more trivial and less significant. They're only tests like stations at a workout facility. Some are just bicep tests. Some are just leg tests. Some are lower back tests. Some are tricep tests. Everything we go in life is really, you start looking at it, oh, that's only a test to get me better. Oh, lost my job? Oh, that's only a test for me to get better. Oh, my business isn't doing well? All right, how I'm going to approach that? It's only a test for me to get better. No matter if you're winning in life right now or losing in life, so to speak, our only real end result of success is, did we operate and fulfill our destiny, our purpose, and did we operate in obedience? Obedience from like what our spirit has been led, the thing that's been tugging on us our whole life. Like, did I do that thing and do I feel fulfilled? When you're able to operate at that frequency, you literally are the richest you've ever been. Because nothing that can be taken away will devastate you, will bankrupt you. Literally learning how to deal with negative attacks, learning how to deal with jealousy, learning how to deal with betrayal, learning how to deal with health challenges. In our lives, life is going to continue to be lifing. We're going to go through every single day. How are you going to deal with the curveballs? Because many of these things you can't pay your way to. You can't buy great health. Money can help contribute to certain aspects of it. You can't buy it. You can't buy years in your life. You can't buy time back. So how do you deal with these situations when life is throwing you curveballs? That's the most valuable lesson, because in every situation that you ever find yourself in, you'll be able to come out of it and come up and add value and contribute to others and play your part in society and the ecosystem. That's where we really find our way to doing us and being us. But then you'll be able to recognize, from operating at that frequency, you'll be able to recognize what's the wisest thing to do in regards to my family trust. What's the wisest business for me to pick up on? What land should I purchase? How should I move? When should I move? You'll be operating in a supernatural frequency. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to get to a point where you're moving at the supernatural. That's what I've learned, how to move at the supernatural. So like, for instance, we went to church yesterday and one of our good family friends, I won't even mention her name, but she has a podcast, has a big brand, millions of followers. And then God put on my spirit to share something with her. Like I literally just dropped in my head, like a whole daydream about her. And I'm like, I want to talk to you. And I told her, I was like, I don't know if you're going to get confirmation this later on, like something's going to show you like, oh snap, like I've seen this confirmation, a cosign, someone read it or you saw something else, but God shared with me, he wants to take your brand somewhere else. And he wants you to actually elevate in a certain kind of way, in that it might impact your current brand, because he wants to take you in a kind of different space. And she was like, oh my God, I was just talking about that yesterday. Like literally this is confirmation of what I was just talking about. Why randomly did I just pull this woman to the side to have this conversation of something that was downloaded to me about her that was just on my heart? That actually confirmed what she was just talking about and thinking about. You just start moving at the supernatural. Life start getting different, it start getting easier. You're able to start unlocking doors and unlocking solutions, unlocking problems, unlocking cheat codes to your decisions. How do you move in your family? How do you solve this problem? Because you're not operating at a frequency that's blocked, that's stuck. You're literally free flowing, and you're literally riding a wave, the frequency wave, because you just opened up. It's not about what people say on Instagram or Facebook or follow, like yo, no one literally can phase you. It's like, yo, you can't phase me. Well, I know I'm operating at my highest frequency, so it's not about none of that. You can't like push my buttons because I'm operating at such a high frequency, and that's what we all want to get. That's when you're truly CEO of your last name. You literally can lead your family despite children's mothers, children's fathers, divorces, bonus parents, stepchildren, mother-in-laws, whatever. You can deal with everyone and everything in your circumference from the right place, from a strong place. And literally start to build your legacy with wisdom. And build your legacy with a high frequency, not off ego, not off emotion, not off arrogance. You don't have to, right? Like you can literally have power without flaunting your influence, but still be powerful. Be powerful over your land, be powerful over your tenants, but be able to balance seeing people's needs, treating your brother and loving your brother like you love yourself, even your customers, even your tenants, even your business partners. You can really see, you can just move at a different pace. It's another way to unlock everything that we're all trying to do. We're all essentially trying to live good lives. But a lot of times we've minimized living a good life to just having money, to financial freedom. You can have financial freedom but be a cruel person or be a depressed person. So like the frequency that I just want to lead by example as I walk, and I don't know how many more money churches that we have. I've been praying about it because I love this platform, because all I'm doing on this platform, I'm just reflecting in you guys my spiritual growth. I don't know how much value is there. It's not my main thing, right? I'm not a preacher in that, a minister in that sort. I constantly think about like my highest and best use, but I've done over 80 of these podcasts or series, if you will. So I don't want to stop. But then part of me, I want to maybe even morph this into a larger platform, or maybe retire this platform, because I do want to get into the things I do most and best. I'm not the best at this. I just like to reflect my spiritual journey to you all because I'm watching how much peace it's giving me. And I've been super challenged. Like I've literally had like a decade of something, a multi-million-dollar brand that I've built, like sabotaged, attacked, like tried, like all that, with health challenges and family challenges and all that intertwined. Like I literally have survived one more storm in my life. And less of a storm than what I would say a trial period. My trial time, I call it. It was just a trial to see how I deal with, and that's the beautiful part. With every trial, it builds us up. And so I just want you all to see a reflection of what's God done with me and building me up through my very, very robust, very, very aggressive, very, very challenging times and trials. But where I still am like more happy now than I was before them. More happy, more at peace, more power now, more glow now, more energy now, more inheritance now than I was before my trials. And so I want everyone to see that reflection at whatever, cost, whatever value that is, because we all are going to inherit or face life trials, life challenges. So like when things go on in my family and things go on just all around me, there is something very special. Like even like one of my driver, Ken Kenny, his son went through a trial. His son, after having an ACL injury last year, missed the whole college season, got healthy, worked his leg out, got back on the court. And this year before the season started, this Division I basketball in practice caught another ACL injury and had his head down. And like, you know, like it'll hurt your momentum. It'll hurt your heart. It'll hurt you like, yo, like what? I just worked hard to get back, and like it'd be deflating for any of us. But it's like, you can't deflate me that easy. And I was ministering to him and speaking to him because it's like, yo, you over there talking about your ACL injury and you can't play ball for one more season, but it's somebody that's nicer than you in ball that got wrongly accused of a crime, or maybe rightly accused of a crime, and is in prison right now, nicer than you in ball, but ain't seen the light of day for 13 years, lost all their talent thrown away. I know somebody like that. Could have easily went to the NBA. Easily in the NBA. Like all day, every day, top prospect. Throwing his whole life away burglarizing homes. There's somebody else right now with no limbs, no arms, hopping in their car right now, driving off. But you sobbing over your injury. A friend of mine I just met just lost her son in a car accident 1 week ago, her oldest son, through a drunk driver. But we sobbing over an injury, or we lost our job. Like how you know you didn't lose that job for a test of your character to build you up for that dream that God put on your heart you still haven't pursued. He's still waiting for you to write the book, to be the speaker, to create the invention, to get the patent. All these trials, I'm not Jay Morrison without 2.5 years in prison. I don't have that experience to share with many. I'm not Jay Morrison without 10 years in the streets. Like all the trials add up to you being you. So we have to learn how to embrace our trials and our tests, which are really just our obstacle course for us to be the champions that God has already ordained us to be. I'm a champion. I'm literally a champion because of everything that I went through that didn't break me. It makes me the richest I've ever been. Because the getting money part is just tactical. It's just technical. But the being wealthy part is it's comprehensive. It's all of it. And it's what I want to leave behind for my heirs. I want a Morrison legacy that aren't rich brats, that aren't wealthy kids that treat people poorly because their daddy has some money or left an inheritance. No, I want daughters and sons that love God with all their heart, that love their self, and love their brother and sister like themselves. Love their neighbor like themselves. Them kind of kids. That's wealthy. When you got kids and people on your influence that aren't even acting in a manner that's pleasing to you, pleasing to God, like that's reciprocal to good nature, to good ecosystem. Like, bro, you're not really rich. Like, you're a poor man with money. Like, that's what I'm talking about being a family CEO. It's like, yo, how do we really lead our families to higher frequency, higher culture? And not just that for me. I'm looking at our entire community and really looking at whole humanity. So check this out, and I'm done. Whole humanity has a problem when whole humanity dismisses people of African descent as the least and less than, or dismisses the history and lineage and birthright of people of African descent. Whole humanity has a problem because now we're living in humanity based on a lie. The frequency's off. We all can admit that in most places in the African diaspora, except for Africa where we're the majority of government and majority of businesses, in all other places, we are in last place throughout the diaspora, if you will. South America, Australia, Indonesia, whatever. America, North America. So we can say that. That's cool. It's a static fact. But we also have to live in the truth that the first people on the planet were of African descent. They were Africans. And the seeds, like Adam and Eve, weren't a white couple with their legs crossed with a plant covering their crotch in a garden. That wasn't like two white people, Adam and Eve. It's not a white-black thing. This is a truth lie thing. This is a righteousness, right? I'm going somewhere with this. So for me, my plight is for my community, because my community is in last place in being vastly underserved and vastly oppressed. And my community has not gotten freedom here in America since we were free prior to our enslavement. We got free from chains, but we did not get free from under the rule of the same government that enslaved us in the first place. We're now called their citizens. If you define a citizen, it's a subject of a government. So if my people, my lineage, were free thinking, free governing, free moving, free industry Africans, we are not truly free until we are at our pre-enslavement state. And that wasn't a subject of a European-based government. So my plight is, my purpose, don't gotta be yours. My purpose is freedom, liberation, independence, nationality, repair for my people. And it starts with us knowing who we are and organizing a critical mass of us to acknowledge our inheritance, our heritage, our lineage, our nationality, and then literally going to human rights court, world's court, and partnering with a sovereign nation who will adopt our claim for nationality so we can have a seat at the world court and begin the process of self-governing and accountability for our human rights violations. That's my big, hairy, scary purpose that I have to be obedient to. So Money Church and its spirituality, I love it and I want to keep doing it, but it's not per se my highest calling. I know the calling and purpose that God gave me. That's my human being. That's my way to be. But I also understand in context to spirituality or humanity, the purpose of that is to rectify things. It's not just to be pro-black to be pro-black. It's not just to be revolutionary to be revolutionary. It's that the ecosystem is off and it's wrong because the world is declassifying God's first people and dismissing, hiding, manipulating our history and our identity, which has the whole world living on a lie in the ecosystem. So to admit, if you will, that all people in the world and the earth we all come from the Father, we're all his children. And he made us in his image, but the first us he made in his image were people with enough melanin, dark-skinned people that could then be the fathers of all people. Every shade and hue of people come from the darkest shade. Every color in the crown box comes from black. Every shade and every hue is pulled from black. That's cool. It shows us, and history and science even shows it. So what this does, it rectifies the ego, the arrogance, and the falsehoods of white supremacy. So white supremacy and European powers or European descendants or European corporations are the most powerful on the planet. They literally, between the American and the European Union and that alliance, arguably, again, China and Russia are there, right? But those are their, I guess, counterparts or comps of who's most powerful. But essentially, Europeans have dominated 3/4 of the world landmass with colonies, with colonization, imperialization, South America, India to Caribbean islands to North America, right? That is what it is. But what happens is when we operate in a real truth about African people, black people, and not just like we swatting flies in Africa and we just broke and we just poor and we just this tribal, like that part. When we rectify things and operate in a real truth of African descendants, black people seeing themselves who they are, and then European people in other descents and walks of life, seeing us for who we truly are. The fathers and mothers of all civilization. The first ones created in Eden, in Ethiopia, in Cush by God. The seed of Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Israel. When they see us in the proper context and the proper light, we then have the proper even playing field of universal dignity and respect. Everyone acts like there's no reason to respect us because of our current trauma, our current degradation, our current culture, and our current place in society. They're just the least, they're just the last, they're just ignoring that everyone came from us and we civilized the whole world. That truth, there's a certain power and a certain there's a certain code in truth. Truth will set you free. Truth is a certain light. There's powers in the word, right? In the beginning was the word. The word has the most power. So I guess my context is kind of like, for me, my businesses, my business goals are all to support my purpose goal to walk in my power, use my skills, my life experiences to just be who God called to ask me to be. And some of you might say, shut up and dribble. Shut up and do real estate. You have the right to say that. I wouldn't say it to you because I treat my brother like myself, and I don't think you want me to say it to you, so, but you have your own values. But I don't live for other people. And that's the place I want to encourage all you to get to. Don't live for your wife. Don't live for your children. Don't live for your followers. Don't live, no. Yo, that can crash and likely will crash. Live to raise your frequency, to raise your relationship, to raise your vibration to where you are locked in step walking with the Father. Because that's how he designed us to live. You read the stories of the most powerful people on the planet, they had a relationship, a communication relationship with God and the Father. I'm not going to say it for another hour and tell you about multiple times that God confirmed. He does it with all you. I know it already. When you thought something, it felt good to you, it was on your spirit and heavy, and then you didn't and you saw a consequence. Or you did and somebody confirmed it. We got to stop acting like it's like a spook, this energy. It's just an inaudible God that doesn't speak through his voice, but speaks through people, through circumstance, through visions, through dreams, through unctions. And we are able to get that, and you're not just chasing the latest trend in a rap song, or not chasing what you made up for yourself. A lot of times we make up our own goals, but it ain't the goal that God gave us. You're out of line, you're out of balance. You're chasing the own goal you set yourself with that goal. Your steps weren't ordered by God. That's the easiest way to put it. Bruh, sis, get to a place where your steps are ordered by God, our Father. That's the easiest way to be in alignment and be the richest you've ever been. If you sow good seed, you're guaranteed to give good fruit. It's inevitable. If you're being obedient and tapped in to what you know is on your heart, it doesn't mean there's not tests and trials. You got to go through the process to get the outcome. So the tests and trials from a carnal, secular, basic mind thought point, the test and trials say, oh, this is not working. I should stop doing this because it's not working. No, it's actually working. You're going through the process. Because you go to the gym and you wake up and your arms are stiff like this. You're like, I ain't going back to that gym. This ain't working. I can't even move my arms. This ain't working. You got to rip the muscle and shred the muscle in order to let it heal and grow. And then you got to feed the muscle. So many of us are chasing this instant gratification or chasing the Joneses in their success, but your last name ain't Jones. So many of us are chasing steps that we ordered in our head. I want to be the biggest drug dealer. I want to be the most popular influencer. Is that what God told you, or did you told you that? Oh, I want to marry her because she looked good. Did God tell you that, or you told you that? So many of us are chasing the wrong things, and then we're mad when we get the results that we want. But here's the dope part about it, is you could screw up, and God will still give you grace and recorrect as you get back in order and get back aligned. You just now have like altered your path and trajectory, and now you have to go through another set of things to get to where you could have been by being aligned. So in closing, as a matter of fact, I will open up, because on my spirit, for Facebook or Instagram. If you guys have any questions, we'll have Queen Jada field some questions. If you have any questions pertaining to this topic, I don't want to really go outside of this topic too much. Any contribution or questions on this, please ask. I want to share or open up any insight. But my plea is, most know, and you can see and feel in me that I'm a real one, meaning I've been through real challenges from the ground up and face them with my chest out and my head up. And sometimes head down on my knees and with some tears. But I've been very, very resilient in life. And I just want everyone to get a reflection of my peace and understand that there's like a different way we can walk than what we commonly most see. And still get all the money that we want to get, so do everything that we want to do, but just have a high level of peace in our lives. So again, thank you guys for tapping in. If there's any questions on Facebook or IG, you could tap them in. We'll take them. Otherwise, we'll adjourn for the night. Just wanted to send you all, again, my love, my energy. Really just being obedient at the end of the day. Honestly, it was up to me. I didn't want to do Money Church and do it this long, but I could not stop. I don't know when I'll stop. I feel like it might be coming to an end, though, just because I believe that God is rounding out my spiritual journey and experiences. I believe in this whole circle of a complete man that he's been trying to carve and craft so I can really go out and be who he wanted me to be. Think about it. If I just told you my purpose is to help get freedom and independence and liberation for an oppressed people, our Father needs to see that I can weather storms, weather controversy, weather adversity, weather opposition, weather ridicule. So my trials and my tests. Ken, quiet on set. Thank you. Sorry, y'all. That was my from Harlem talking like a loud up norther. Jeez. But anyway, so what I've learned through this process, and what I think this process is about for me and even Money Church, was this platform has been allowing me to express myself and build my boldness and confidence in regards to spirituality. A year ago, I wouldn't be talking this fluently to you about spirituality. I wasn't even sure of my own spirituality and relationship. A year ago, I wouldn't have been talking about Bible scriptures and even had the knowledge to even talk about Bible scriptures or the word or God's word. So I think this has been an opportunity and maybe a test run or drive of itself for God to see if I'll do something uncomfortable, right? I'm cool talking about this stuff now, but it's not my ideal platform. It's not my ideal thing, but I don't mind. Actually, I enjoy and I'm willing to and will quickly be obedient. And I want God to know that. No matter how out of the norm you call me to do something, Jay Morrison, your son, is down. I'm with it. No matter how outside of my norm or what people expect from me or whatever, if my father calls me, it's like your dad, your real daddy. If you're like, boy, help me do this, XYZ, he's like, all right, Pops, like, I got you. Like, my Pops could call me, I could have a suit on, manicures, whatever. My Pops called me and need me to help fix the car, fix a lawnmower, like, all right, Pops, I got you. So if our Father needs us to go to work for the kingdom and help save our other brothers and sisters or do whatever it is, that obedience comes with rewards. I know this. And that lack of obedience comes with confusion, comes with stress, comes with what it comes with. And so, again, I feel like, I'm not sure when and how. Money Church Monday might get rolled into something else. It might just retire the platform. But I appreciate everybody kind of just like experiencing and going through my spiritual journey with me and pulling from it whatever you can that might pour into and benefit your life and your spiritual journey. My biggest things is watch out for religion. Not really into it. I see the flaws and traps in religion. We'll talk about that more. There definitely are religious traps. Watch out for pleasing other people. That's a trap right there. You'll always get disappointed trusting man and putting your faith in man and not the Father. Like, I'm gonna disappoint you. You won't put your trust in Jay. Like, yo, I strive for righteousness every day, but I'm still gonna disappoint you. Because all have sinned and will fall short. You too. So we have to stop like elevating man. Like, oh man, he's like, he's black power and he talks well and he looks good and he dresses nice and he's so friendly and he has a wife. Yo, every man, every woman gonna disappoint you because we all fall short. None of us like stop idolizing man. Like any of us, any celebrity, any influencer, Barack Obama, whoever, like, yo, we all gonna have a flaw. Like, and that's what I learned too, how to be cool with my flaws. That's cool. But God knows my heart, and you can see in my heart that I'm constantly striving towards righteousness, perfection, or a better state. That's the process. Man gets caught up with your countenance. Another quick thing. Like right now, today I'm dressed like bummy. Like I'd never come out the house like this, honestly. Like I really normally would feel bad come out the house like this bummy as I am. But I'm in a transition right now with my family. And a lot of our stuff is in storage. And God showed me, he said in October, November, your physical norms, come up like perfectionists about grooming and dressing and certain kind of things. He said it's going to be all over the place, but just accept that and there's something greater on the other side. And I learned that too. I learned just not to get caught up in so much nuanced little stuff. And I can still like it, and still want to be dressed nice or whatever the case is, but none of it affects my peace. Like I'm not insecure about none of it. I'm not like I know everything I'm doing is at such a high level, such a high purpose that the small stuff I don't sweat. I don't get I just don't. And I'm gonna need that posture, need that energy for where God wants to take me in life. Because I'm gonna have more darts, more obstacles, more probably chaos and more all kind of other stuff. But I'm built for it. I'm made for it. And more so than I was 6 months ago when I thought I was and was saying the same thing. But it's different now. There's just levels to it. And so I want to encourage everybody, find your level. Find your level to where it's just not tripping. There's no comments, there's no video, just no nothing. It's really hard to get to a man or a woman who knows who they are. Knowing yourself is such a strong attribute. Really, really knowing yourself and knowing where you stand with God. That's when you become unmovable. When you become unmovable, it really allows you to be a leader, a CEO, a family patriarch, a matriarch, an example. Become unmovable. Where you're just not swayed by trends, you're not swayed by gossip. I don't even I turn on gossip. I know what that is. I know what that spirit is. I don't even want your gossip. Go. Us just improving our character, improving our moral compass, all those things. So anyway, wanted to give y'all that. What's up? What we got? We got questions.
Okay. Someone asked, how do you raise your frequency?
I think the simple way of raising your frequency is three. I'll talk about three principles, but I want to give 3 steps to raising your frequency. One step to raising your frequency is having a conversation with God daily and humbling yourself on your knees, praying to God for knowledge, wisdom, strategy, understanding, and revelation. That he reveal you things, how you should move, who you should move with, and then listening. That's one. Honoring God with all your heart and listening. That's one way to literally raise your frequency, because now you are opening up to not my thoughts and not my things. Father, please, can you order my steps and share with me understanding and knowledge and wisdom of these steps and revelation on how I should move. And then knowing when you get a download, an unction, a dream, or a piece of advice or whatever, you'll feel it confirmed by peace, and then learning how to move on a word. That's one part, right? So that relationship with God is really important. But then figuring out how to love yourself, be kind with yourself, being patient with yourself, long-suffering with yourself, gentle with yourself. Like literally not operating from yourself from a place of lack, from a place of just critique and criticism, which you can criticize, but also be your biggest fan, but literally just loving yourself. And then loving your neighbor, loving your brother like yourself. Dealing with people like you really would want to be dealt with. Even when they come at you wrong and sideways, trying to see, because you come at people wrong and sideways sometimes. We all have bad days. We all have misunderstandings. Like you might have cut me off in your car and I might think you an a-hole. So I'm looking at you like you're a bad person, like you're rude, like you're inconsiderate. But maybe you just cut me off because you blind in one eye, don't drive that well. Maybe because you're frantic because your child's in the hospital. Maybe you cut me off because you got one donut and a low air tire. Maybe you cut me off because you're just not a good driver. You didn't even see me there. You just didn't check your blind spot in your mirror. So, or maybe you are inconsiderate and an a-hole, but then that tells me that you have trauma. And you can't treat me like yourself because you have trauma you haven't healed yet. And I can see that hurt in you. And I can have grace for my brother and my sister. I'm not so moved by what offended me that now I got to drop down to you. No, I want you to come up to me. God doesn't drop down to us. We come up to him. So those are ways you can raise your frequency and raise your vibration is always trying to stay high. Always trying to stay high in your thoughts and your ways of being, how you treat people. I'm always staying high except when it comes to our relationship with the Father. That's when we go low. That's when we humble ourselves. We humble ourselves before him, and then we are high before everyone else.
Someone asked, how can you tell the difference between our voice and God's voice?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I learned in this process is that your conscience, your mind, and even the enemy and other seeds that have been planted will tell you things too. The difference is when your steps are ordered by God and you hear God's voice, there's a different level of peace and lightness that comes with it. It doesn't come from a place of just like, yo, I see the play, I get more money if I go this way. And it might make you excited because you could actually see the money, which is more greed, but that ain't the peace. When God is telling you something, it gets confirmed by peace and many times co-signed by something you've seen, something recently somebody else said, some other kind of coincidence that kind of intersects it, and all that will be confirmation for you, but it's always confirmed by peace, a lightness.
How do you feel about materialism in the world and how it takes people's vision away from community improvement and makes them more selfish?
I love money, not more to God. I love material things. I love Rolexes. I do. I love nice cars that smell new. I do. But I don't love any of those things even remotely close to that I love God, his people, his word, and my calling from him. Materialism isn't the issue. It's our love and prioritization of materialism that's the issue. So for instance, I told you all a story about I was at some of our land and I was talking about getting some goats, right, from the land, for the land, goats to maintain the land. Because goats eat the grass, right? Without having to pay a landscaper. And I was leaving the land, and I had a brand new Jaguar, 2022 Jaguar. I think it's the F1, maybe I forgot which one, right? So I'm pulling off in my brand new 2022 Jaguar, And there's a king walking down the street, older gentleman who had like kind of like dirty clothes on. And I thought he might have been like a local neighborhood guy, or could have maybe come from a liquor store or something, whatever the case. He had a bag in his hand. And my spirit said, ask him, does he want to ride? If I was into materialism, I'm like, yo, that brother's not sitting in my brand new leather car seats. Materialism would override the word I heard. But instead, I heard it and I know what it is because my relationship, and I recognize it. I stopped my car instantly, moved on a word, waited for him to walk up and catch to me, even inconvenient as it was, and said, hey, King, peace, you need a ride? And he said, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just walking to my house down the street. I'm walking from my farm. I said, oh, you got a farm? I said, oh, I got some land over here too. He said, oh, really? If you see any sheep or goats, they're mine. I got a goat farm half a mile down the road. I said, yo, this is literally less than 12 minutes after I walked from the back pasture to the front gate to get in the car and said, I need some goats for the land. I literally randomly off a word, not randomly, because I can't say random, that's disrespect to the word. I intentionally heard a word, moved on a word, asked a strange man with dirty clothes to get into my 2022 Jaguar to give him a ride because a word told me to, from the sky, from the air. And he happened to be a goat farmer. This is real life. So that's how we know it's confirmed. And you'll get better at it. You'll make mistakes at it. Like, oh, I thought that was God. You know what? That was me. But as you hear it more, you start to know, and it's like anything. You get better at it with time. And by staying in God's word, reading the Bible, you can see how God spoke to Saul, how God spoke to Samson, how God spoke to David, how God spoke to Rebecca, whoever, Judges, whoever. So those examples then show me how God talks to and treats with and interacts with his people. So now I know, like, oh, this is how God deal with his mighty men. So when I get a word like, hey, Jay, I need you to fast off this right now. I need you to back off this right now. Oh, man, it's on my heart. Many times God wants us to also, we raise our frequency through discipline. I want to give you that. Discipline is one instant way to raise your frequency. To eliminate and cut off something that you deeply value or desire. It might just be TV. It might be a certain fried food or meal. It might be a person. It might be a situation. It might be whatever. Discipline and going without, foregoing, which is aka sacrifice. Sacrifice is one way to show God our effort, especially even in tithing and giving. I don't worry about what a church does with my money or a pastor does with my money. That's on them. They got to worry about that. But I make sure that 1/10 of my earnings go to the Father in a ministry that I believe in, or that he tells me to put in my heart to give and to serve, just to show him my sacrifice. And many times more than that, if he puts in my heart to give more. Just because I'm willing to show him that I'm willing to sacrifice. These are ways we raise our frequency. That's it.
Someone asked from Facebook, does your purpose require assistance from others to meet your ultimate goal?
I think I'd be ahead of myself to give a full yes. Your purpose might be a solo dolo Rambo mission God gave you. Like, oh, ain't for nobody but you. But I would say most times there's probably people to support your purpose in your path. I mean, even God in the flesh, the word in the flesh, God's only begotten son still had 12 disciples. Right? He still had John the Baptist. I mean, Adam even had a helpmeet. So I believe most times there will likely be people who come across your path because God uses people even to speak with you or support you. So I would say most times people, but I am not man of God enough to tell you that never will God give you something that's just designed for you to carry out.
I'm going to combine these two.
Okay.
So one person on Facebook said, I feel empty and unsure of my purpose, and I want peace in my spirit. And I'm joining that with, how do you suggest we get closer to God?
So someone said, I'm feeling empty. I know that feeling. I'm telling you, that's a horrible feeling. Like, I think that's probably the root of many depressions. I know that feeling. And what I would say to you is pray that prayer nightly on your knees. See, like, God can hear us on our back laying in bed. God can hear us just walking. But the sacrifice is, even after a long day, even after, man, dog, God, I'm tired, that I'm willing to get on my knees and humble myself before you, and I want to speak to you. I want to call on you. I want to give you an offering of my humility and my submission, and then I want to listen. And I would say, if you ask God, Father, please help me fill this void, fill this gap by helping me to identify my purpose. What is it? Please give me that unction. Please give me that thing. And most likely you've already gotten it before. You just ignored it. You just didn't want to listen because it seemed too hard or too outside of you. You know how long that God's been telling me to get in front of people and speak? Since I was 15 years old, youth ministry president in my church, I knew I was supposed to be in front of people and speak. My freshman year of high school, I wanted to be the high school valedictorian. But the guys in my hood said being a valedictorian was corny, so I threw that vision away. I've always had a desire. In the 5th grade, I spoke at the United Nations. I was voted by my class in the 5th grade. We visited the United Nations in New York. We took a bus trip from New Jersey, and I was voted by my class to speak in front of the United Nations in 5th grade. This call has been all my life. But as I got older, I thought it was corny. I thought it was this. I thought it was that. I was getting money. When you interject I, it means you're putting yourself above the Father. That's most of our problem. Because of who we want to be in society, who we want to oppress, who we want to be like, what steps that we order for ourselves, we put that above the Father. They say we're confused. All you got to do is listen to what God already showed you and shared with you. What has been tugging on your heart the most? What have you had the most unction and desire to do? God don't got to whisper in a bee's ear and be like, yo, I want you to get pollen. God don't got to tell a tree, hey, I need you to produce these apples for me. An apple tree knows to be an apple tree. A bee knows to be a bee. A bear knows to be a bear. If we just listen to what God already implanted in us, we know exactly who to be. And we'll feel less empty inside, and we'll be the richest we've ever been. Gotta listen. And don't be scared of what we hear. That's it. Cool beans. Thank you all again for tuning in. Again, it's just my regurgitation, my translation, my reflection of my spiritual journey, which is, it changed my life big time. I thought I was the man, at times in my life because I had I don't want to say it, sounds disgusting, but I had a lot of women. Thought I was the man because of cars. Thought I was the man because of business accolades. I thought I was the man because of influence, leading the culture. I thought I was the man because of so many different things that were self-induced adrenaline or ego or accolade or those things. And still follow purpose within that, but I'm just at a point of maturity, spiritual growth and maturity, of really recognizing what the man really is. And it's really like operating as a man of God and being the best reflection of the DNA that I was made with, the Father that I was made from, being the best reflection of Him, the best image of Him that I can be, and walking in my purpose, walking in my light. Those things are the most liberating for me, and going along with the process and journey. I have not arrived, y'all. That's why I just do this on Mondays, is like a reflection, like where I'm at today. I have not arrived, but I have evolved, and there's still more progress. That's the other part you learn. It's like, yo, rock out with the journey. Like, do the progress, the process. But it's guaranteed to be all good when you're doing it on steps that are ordered by the Most High. All right, guys, thank you all for joining another episode of Money Church. Please make sure you tap in with us. Like, share, subscribe. Get this out there into the universe. Let's plant seeds. Let's grow rich together at the highest form. Hope you all found value in this. And make sure you click the link below for any of our other trainings we can offer you to help you build that capital, that currency, and that physical richness as we grow our spiritual riches. All right, family, I'll see you on the next one in real life. Peace.